Welcome to the Mason Miller Show, and today's guest is Paul Brooks, a longtime Shelbyville resident and huge Elvis fan. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Clay Miller. Paul, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So tell me a little bit about how, since it's Elvis week and we're celebrating Elvis's life, and he just died 2 days ago, can you talk to me a little bit about why you like Elvis and why other people should like him?
I can tell you why I love Elvis, because the first time I saw him, it was like nothing that I'd ever seen before, naturally, and nothing anybody had ever seen for a long time. First time I saw him was on the Tommy Dorsey show.
What year was that?
Oh, my God. I was about 14 or 15 years old. You do the math. I can't go back that far. But there were a couple other.
Well, you're 50 now, right? So
yes,
just turned.
Yeah, just turned 50. Just turned 50 about 30 years ago. But anyhow, there was a couple other TV shows that claimed that they had him on first, which is not true. Tommy Dorsey, which was a big band show, had him on first. Then he went on Milton Berle's show, and then he was on Steve Allen's show, and he was also, the big time was Ed Sullivan's show. Steve Allen just made fun of him the whole time, and it wasn't a pleasant thing. But
did you hate Steve Allen?
I have forever since. I never have liked him since, and that's a shame because he was funny in a lot of ways. But he made fun of Elvis, and I didn't like that. But Elvis is just different. It wasn't anything that anybody.
Did he make fun of him for being like just country boy, Mississippi guy, that kind of thing?
Boy, the way he looked.
Well, he dressed totally different from anyone I'd ever seen. Different colors.
The hair. Of course, when at that age, we all ran around with flat tops or mohawks or whatever the hell haircut that we wanted, but Elvis was just different. He had his own style, and he didn't give a damn whether you liked it or not. That was what I loved about him. He didn't care. If you don't like the way I look, so what? Who cares? The worst thing that had Elvis happen to his career is when he signed on with Colonel Parker. That's the worst thing that ever happened to Elvis.
He controlled
everything about Elvis. Just like, for example, he was offered with Barbra Streisand the role in A Star Is Born, and Elvis wasn't a great actor, but he was okay. And Colonel Parker said, "Okay, but Elvis has to be Elvis Presley, and then Barbra Streisand." That's how it had to read, and of course she wouldn't stand for that, and so that was it. He wouldn't let Elvis do it. And he did stuff like to Elvis all the time. And Elvis, if you listen to the people that hung with Elvis a lot, they all said the same thing about it. You know, he needed to get rid of Colonel Parker, but he wouldn't do it. He just wouldn't do it. He was loyal to him and held him back a lot.
I think he really could have been a good actor if he wouldn't fall into they wanted him to be just a singer in the movies. They didn't want him to really act, show off what he could really do.
Absolutely. And Elvis himself, he was sick of making these silly movies, as he called them. You know, they were absolutely silly. Kissing Cousins, Girls. It just went on and on. When he made King Creole, that was a good movie. That was a real good movie. Now, I don't know whether you guys ever saw Follow That Dream or not with Elvis.
I've seen it.
That's a funny movie. That's a good movie. That's a real good movie. I like the humor in that. And but most of his movies were really, really dumb, and they all had the same plot. Every one of them had the same plot. Even G.I. Blues was, it had the same plot. It's just Elvis gets up and sings, and he gets a girl. That's about what it boiled down to. And I didn't care for those movies. I did love King Creole, and I Follow That Dream. Those are two of my favorites. Flaming Star. I liked it. I loved it.
There's probably 30 plus that he made.
Oh, yeah. He made a lot of them. Did you see Flaming Star?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you ought to watch that. That's really good, too. It's a good movie. It's got a plot to it, and got some good actors acting with him, and it was a good movie. Very good.
And he sings somewhere in it and gets a girl?
No, he really doesn't. He sings a song, Flaming Star, and one other one I don't remember. But Flaming Star was the big song in it, which is also a good song. Of course, if you love Elvis, you love all of his music. It doesn't matter what it is. He could sing Pooping in the Grass, and you'd like it. It doesn't really matter. He's just Elvis. That's just all there is to it. And I grew up with an older brother, Ronnie, and he was as big, if not bigger, fan than I was. I mean, we used to play Elvis in the living room. You know, we'd get up and dance and do all the moves and all that kind of stuff. We
What
loved
did your parents think of that?
Say, Paul, what are you doing? I'd say, Dad, none of your business. Get back in the bedroom.
Yeah, I bet you would.
But, no.
Did you ever see Elvis live in a concert?
Yes, I did. I saw him in the Omni building in Atlanta. And he was quite large then, but didn't matter. Didn't matter at all.
When was this?
Oh, it was in the 70s. It wasn't too long before he died, actually. He performed there, and like I said, he was a pretty good-sized guy, but didn't
matter to anyone else.
Didn't matter to anybody. The ladies still swarmed the stage and did all that kind of stuff.
At that point, he might not have.
But people loved him.
He came up so fast, became so popular. It'd be like a lot of these young people, even nowadays, they come up so fast, they're just not used to it.
Right.
They're absolutely not used to it, and it just overwhelms them, you know.
Well, and how could you at that? I mean, at that, from where he came from, even no matter how support people you had around him, it would be difficult. I mean, you've probably been to Tupelo and seen his childhood home.
Yeah, I've been to Tupelo.
It's unbelievable. It's size of our garage.
Yeah, kind of like where I live, but
but I mean,
Kind of raised the same.
but it is. I mean, think of this little country boy coming from that to being the most famous person in the world, probably at the time.
even then, even when he was in high school, the stories you hear about him, the kids didn't like him, didn't like the way he dressed. It just didn't matter to him until he performed at a small concert at school, and then
They were like, wow.
it just makes a difference. It doesn't matter what you look like or whether you're fat, skinny, beautiful.
Like Paul.
I mean, you're just trying to imagine what it'd be like if you weren't beautiful.
Oh, I can't imagine it.
Right.
That's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning. I just, put my clothes on. I go to the mirror and say,
Pray,
You
thank you,
and then-
God, for making me look like
Oh,
a
my.
mirror image of Elvis.
But the most important thing you can do, to people is, number one, be kind to them. It's so much easier to be nice to people than it is to be rude to people. And it doesn't matter what they look like, whether they're homely, whether they're attractive, whether they're overweight, or whatever it is about them that it may not appeal to you. That doesn't matter. You may need those people someday. You may need them someday.
You may need a favor.
And just be kind to people. That's all you got to do. But
Well, he was so kind. He got a lot of advantage taken of him, right? I mean,
But he always took care of his friends. He never
Absolutely.
forgot where he came
Absolutely.
from.
And the sad part of that, I think he did a lot of that because he was scared of losing his friends. The most important thing you want to remember is, like I said, be kind, be courteous, be lovable to people. Most important thing of all that, though, if you're doing all those things, you don't have to take any shit off of them. That's for sure.
Erased everything you just said.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to. I told my grandkids, I want you to love and be kind to everybody, but you don't have to take any crap off of them.
And have they talked to you since? Is that what they said? That's it? I'm not talking.
No.
So you were talking about, when you first heard him, that sort of thing. What's the first song of his that really was the one that you were like, this is the one that still sticks with you from the very beginning?
Oh, boy. That's hard because...
What would be your all-time favorite one if you had to...
My all-time favorite song by Elvis?
If you had to pick one, you could only just have one song that
I
you
could listen to over and over. I'd have to say it would be Too Much.
Kentucky Rain. Too Much?
Too Much is a great one.
It is a great song, that's for sure. It's very good. I love that song. And the flip side of that was Playing for Keeps, which I loved it too. That's the thing about Elvis. Elvis had a lot of flip side songs, like Don't Be Cruel. Hound Dog was on the other side. Hound Dog was a big song, then Don't Be Cruel was on the flip side. Well, it turned out to be a better song than the stupid Hound Dog. But there were just so many that I liked. And as a matter of fact, I looked for an album before I came over here, and I couldn't find it. I want Malcolm. I want Malcolm to have it.
Mason,
Whatever.
one of them. I do the same thing, and I live with them, so it's okay.
I'd like to have Mason to have it, and it's an original album, and it's got "Counting on You," "I Was the One," a lot of great songs on it, and it's an original. I've been offered $100 for it. Just 75 to you, Malcolm. But no,
Mason, what's your
Mason, I'm
favorite
sorry.
song?
See, that's
You had
tough
to
for me
pick
too
one.
because I like a lot of the slow songs and I like a lot of his more upbeat rock
So if
songs.
you had to pick one kind of fast one and one slow down song.
Oh man. Well, my favorite probably slower one is I really like "Always on My Mind." That's a good slow
yeah,
one.
that's a good one too.
And I probably like Heartbreak Hotel is great. I love that one. I like all of them. They're pretty much all the number one to me is how I feel.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's hard to pick a good one. A one that you like best of all, I loved King Creole, the song King Creole. New Orleans in the movie King Creole. I loved that song. There were just so many in there that you liked that it's hard to pick one.
How many times have you been to Graceland?
I've just been twice. I've
Really?
been twice, and I'm planning on going again. The young lady that I see, we won't mention her name, but I want her to go, and she, I was,
Priscilla?
yeah. But
It's definitely worth going.
I've never been. I'm the only one in the family that hasn't been.
I
I'd like to
haven't.
go.
I haven't been since they've done so much to it, and that's why I want to go back again because I know they've done a lot to it since then.
You really got to, it is awesome how much they've added.
Mason's disgusted because they let people write on the front of his wall
Yeah.
or something.
I don't
and
like that
it
at
really
all. I
bothers
feel
him.
like that's
No, it's not. It's not a
criminal.
It's not a good plan. Becky, I've mentioned it to her about going a couple times. She goes, well, if you don't want to go, it's over.
Now,
It's that simple. I don't want to see you.
does
anymore.
Priscilla know that you're seeing Becky? Does Priscilla know that you're seeing Becky?
No. I'm trying
Hasn't mentioned it yet.
after that facelift, I don't care whether she knows it or not. But
Stretch there tight.
have you seen Priscilla and her facelift?
I haven't lately.
Oh my gosh.
Unrecognizable.
Wouldn't shock me at all that she'd do something like that.
Oh man, she doesn't look good.
It's too bad because she was genuinely really pretty.
I have two really good stories about Graceland. I've told this to Clay before, I'm sure. As we were going through Graceland, you walked around the house and all that, and this young girl was standing as we were heading down to the where they had the pool table. I can't think what they call it now. But
The jungle room?
No, it wasn't the jungle room. That's upstairs, isn't it?
It's downstairs.
Is it downstairs? All right, maybe it was. I was a lot younger.
You
then.
can't go upstairs.
Who was
Well,
it?
I meant down to the basement. I know you can't go
Because
upstairs.
back then,
I'd love to.
didn't he still have a family member living, like an aunt or something living upstairs?
Yeah, there was. I think so.
There was a person who lived up there for a long time.
Yeah.
And Mason was saying in November for Thanksgiving, a lot of the family members would come back for Thanksgiving dinner at Graceland. Which
And
is
for
cool.
Christmas, too, they come back and they decorate the house. And have
Priscilla and
Christmas.
the kids.
That'd be cool.
Anyway,
That'd be cool.
did you ever get an invite for that, Paul?
No, I never did. I'm sure they just
Disappointing.
looked me over for a little while, and then they thought, damn,
You're
forgot Paul.
one more seating capacity. You'd have been there.
Anyhow,
Go ahead. You're looking for the pool table.
No, I was just going down the stairway, and Kay was with us, and God bless her. She was with me, and as we were going down, and I said to the girl, I said, do you know who was with Elvis when he died? And she said, no, they don't tell us those kind of things. And I said to her, I'm pretty sure one of them was Paul Brooks. And she said, well, it might have been. I'm not sure.
You would have been right there with him if you'd have been allowed, wouldn't you?
And my old Kay looked at me and she what is wrong with you? I said, oh,
I'm sure that's like the 800,000th time she'd said that
Yeah.
to you.
that could be too. And the other time is
Was there 2 toilets in the bathroom? Otherwise, how would you have been with him when he died?
I don't know.
You would have never let him go into that bathroom.
No.
And Drew jumped on the bed in the plane, Lisa Marie plane. They were taking Drew through there, and he was with us. And he saw a bed. He was just a little bitty fart. And he jumped on that bed.
Does
Well,
your
the
grandson takes it
yeah,
and jumps off?
Yeah. Alarm started going off. And
Oh,
the guy
boy.
coming up there, and of course, okay. Oh, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. Oh, The guy said, "That's okay. It happens a lot." So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Woke me up.
And we went over to the restaurant, was eating, and this young black girl was waiting on us. And I said, "Don't you get tired of hearing that music all day long, Elvis music all day long? Don't you ever get tired of that?" And no, I said, "We like it. We like it." I wanted to say, "What did you think she was going to say?" But
Yeah,
they
that
listened
was a
to it
trap
all day.
question. She was wondering if
No
you
kidding.
were
It really
supervisor or
was. It
something
really
testing.
was. But I bought that tie that time we were in there, you know, and I wore that tie over to Yaki's during their service once in a while, just because Judy Yaki hated Elvis, so I'd wear that tie over there, and I'd look, Judy, you like this tie? No, I don't like that tie, you know. But
Didn't somebody used to occasionally would like send her a
yeah,
letter and
yeah.
mark it wrong so it would get stamped returned to sender or stuff like that?
yeah. Nobody. She just couldn't stand Elvis. And I told Jack when I died, I said she better get used to it because there's going to be some Elvis music when I play.
Oh.
We actually have the tie right here if people want to see it. If you want to hold that up, Paul.
So whose visitation were you working that was fortunate enough to see you in the Elvis?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good-looking tie.
Oh, it is good looking tie.
I might wear that to homecoming.
And it'll go with anything. It doesn't matter what you got on. It'll go.
Doesn't
with it, that's
matter.
for sure.
No. Sometimes I think I've seen you wearing that without a shirt on even, Paul. Just the tie only.
And to bed a lot of times.
Right.
You know, it's,
Well, you never know when the king may come visit
depends
you.
on, you know, I used to get in bed and I won't talk about it. Anyhow, we won't discuss that. But yeah, he's always been a big, huge Elvis fan. Still am. Still have Elvis radio on my
Oh, trust
car.
me.
car.
I've got Elvis radio on my car because I can tell anytime
Yeah.
Mason's been in it, it's on
Yeah.
Elvis radio.
Like I said, I don't have any idea what it is. Why? I just remember when I was a kid how much different he was, and the hair, you know, of course. And I loved the hair. It was just everything about him I liked. And of course, my mom and dad, they had so many kids. Who? You know, they didn't care. My dad liked Tiny Hill. I go, who?
Didn't they make you guys wear name tags so they know which kid it was?
What do you think I got this tattoo for?
Is that right? You got that when you're 3?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't quite 2, but I was about 14. That guy said, "Are you 18?" I said, "No,
Yep.
my money's green." He said, "Sit down, son." But got that indicator on El Laredo Street in that old barber shop.
Well, I'm sure that was clean.
Boy, it was. He took it right out of the jar. So
Right,
I'm
I
sure it was
bet.
okay.
But,
And there was about 5 or 6 of us. All of us got the same kind of tattoo, just like that one.
yeah, same needle and everything.
My dad, I showed my dad. Well, I'm sure that you should be very proud of that. You can get a job in a carnival now. So anyhow, but my parents didn't really pay much attention. I was, to my death, they didn't pay that much attention. My dad was a hard worker. My mom was, she lived at home, and thank God she lived at home. That was a dumb statement, but anyhow.
Well, that was kind of the way it was back then, right?
Oh, yeah. My mom, when I got a little bit older, she started cooking in a restaurant, and we'd come home after school, and she wasn't there. And, man, it was a real shock.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. I'd call her up and say, "Get off work and come home, fix me something, Mom," and she never would do that.
Then you jump when she wouldn't come home, you'd jump in the car and go to El Dorado and get tattoos.
I'd tell you a few things about my mother. That sweetest woman that you'd ever want to meet in your life. She really was.
Kind of like you.
No, I wouldn't say that. Believe me, I
That's-
wouldn't say that. But anyhow, she was about maybe 5'3". She looked like a little toad. She had.
I'm sure she's
she's
thrilled
quite-
to hear you describe her that
she
way.
know exactly what I was talking about. She had this little round tummy, and legs about so big around. You guys are not old enough to remember this cartoon character. He was a king. He had this big round guy, and he had these little tiny skinny legs. I said, "Mother, that's just what you look like." And she'd say, "Oh, Polly, quit saying that." But
Polly, I knew you were an actor from the start. You should have.
But I was a middle child. I was a third child, and that's how I was treated. I had two older brothers. The older brother, Bill, I didn't know him that well. He went to the military when I was pretty young, or went to the Air Force just before the Korean War. He was in during the Korean War, but and I didn't know him too well. Ronnie was 2 years older, and Gary is 2 years younger than Charlotte and Marilyn's 6 years younger, and Charlotte's 4 years younger, I think. I think that's the way it goes.
Now, were they Elvis fans, or do you?
No. I mean, they liked Elvis.
So you and your older brother were the main Elvis people?
Yeah, Ronnie was a big Elvis fan. Now, the girls, they're more in the Beatle era,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
They're
British
Beatle
invasion.
fans. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Probably Rolling
But,
Stones, stuff like that. I know Mace is going to take a break here in a minute, but before we get to that and get to the taste testing, what is your favorite? I mean, when you think about Elvis, because I think everybody tries to envision him as when he was the young guy coming up. But what do you think of? Because since you saw him live and he was a bigger guy, like when you think of Elvis, what do you think? What first comes to mind?
I think it was just a young kid, like you said, just a young kid that come from a very poor family, extremely poor family, and had talent, had lots of talent, and I just think that he befriended Red West. That was one of the best things that ever happened to him while he was in school. Become very close friends with him, and he was.
Just seems like a guy that you could relate to. Someone who was a rebel, kind of a.
Well, he was
different.
Truly just a country boy that made it.
Right.
Well, yeah, and you talk to people that worked with him and interviewed him, and especially big time people that he worked with, and the nicest, sweetest guys you could ever want to talk to. Elvis had a lot of bad things about him too that I'm sure we don't know about. Have you ever read the book Elvis, What Happened?
No.
Don't.
Ruins your image.
It ruin your image of him. It really would. But you know, everyone's got
a dark side.
Got a dark side, and Elvis had a dark side about him. And when he found out about Priscilla and this guy that she was supposedly seeing, he told his guys, "Kill him. Go kill him. I want him dead." Of course, they talked him out
Thank
of
God
it. They talked him out of it, but he was serious. He wanted him.
Very paranoid man.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing about that whole group was that how many of those guys were with him from the beginning to the very end. That the Memphis Mafia,
Stuck
how
by his
tight they
side.
were.
And when he got married, you might have heard this story before. When he married Priscilla, he just invited the band leader, and I can never remember his Joe. No, I can't think of his name.
The guitar player?
No, he was a orchestra leader, wrote a lot of his music, or didn't write a lot, but directed a lot of his music. He invited him and one other guy, and he didn't invite any of those guys to the wedding, and it just about crushed him. It crushed him.
Oh, I bet.
And it's just like, you know, if I was getting married again and I didn't invite you, you'd come up and say, "Why didn't you invite me, Paul?" I'd say,
Right.
"Didn't want to."
Right.
You know,
I mean, but that would never happen.
no, that would never happen.
Right.
Never. And I'll never get married again, so that'll never happen either. So, anyhow.
Well, I guess on that note, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more from Paul.